Produced by the IH Sports Network, the Roundtable begins now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network, live from El Rey, alongside the voice of the Indians, Tim Smith, the voice of the Highlanders, Rick Keaton. I'm Ben Garrett. Thank you for joining us, and as always, we'll be here for the next 2 hours, so we invite you to come out and be a part of the show if you would like to do so. Got a lot coming your way, including, of course, Tim, I think the most anticipated part, I know it is for me, that is the second half of your sit-down with Sparky Woods. That'll end our show later on tonight. That's pre-recorded. Sparky's not here, but that's going to be a lot of fun. If you saw last week, even if you didn't see last week, Sparky's got a lot of great stories to tell during the second half of his sit-down with Tim Smith. Also, a little bit later on, we're going to talk Oneida soccer as the Lady Indians get ready to go into their region tournament, and we're going to have our players of the game with us later on as well. But first, guys, as we always do, let's start off by talking about Friday night's games. Scott High fell to Fulton 48-14. Oneida falls to Monterey 42-9. Tough night of high school football. Tim, let's start with that Oneida game. That was a big game. We talked about that last week. Region standings hinged on this game. Just a total team effort from Monterey. They won in every phase of the game on Friday night.
They did. I think the Indians, they came out with a good plan, and they hung with the homestanding Wildcats for quite some time. I mean, when I look back on it, you're in the closing moments of the first half, and it was 14-3, and a very key critical time. Monterey was able to move that football down and get that third touchdown to take a 21-3 lead going into halftime. Oneida was getting the ball to start the second half. So really the Indians had to get some points. I think Mark said it out of the halftime break. The Indians had to get something on that first drive of the second half to try to keep things competitive, and Oneida was unable to do so. Monterey just stepped up. A year ago, Monterey was kind of in the driver's seat in the region and came in and perhaps overlooked Oneida here at home a little bit because they had seen that the Indians had stumbled against Rockwood, and Oneida really caught them by surprise. And it looked to me like the Wildcats remembered that and were not going to get caught by surprise again. They had a good game plan. They were very steady, very pretty much mistake-free. The quarterback, Matthew Montgomery, and the running back, Mason Bowman, were a powerful combination. And then if you get too settled into stopping them, you had a couple of receivers, Allred and a fellow receiver stepping up to make some big catches just to keep things moving and breathing for the offense. We saw Luke Barna hit a 44-yard field goal for Oneida. That's I don't have it with me. We're researching that, trying to make sure we've got all the facts right, but it's definitely on the top 5 list of long-distance field goals for Oneida. His dad held the record at one point. We're pretty sure it was about 48 when his dad Jimmy said it. So, it's right up there in the area. He attempted one that would have been the record later on, a 52-yarder to end the first half. He had hit, it was a 51-yarder. He had hit a 52 in pregame going that direction, had the win as an assist, but in this attempt, he just didn't get the strike on it that he usually does, and it didn't go. But, had he hit that, maybe the Indians' defense is able to, muster something and get a stop before half. You got a different game. But as it stood, Monterey, they were intent on it not being a different game. And all credit to the coaching staff and the players there. They were just workmanlike. They didn't get shook by anything, by any bad events that happened. And by the time we got into their first drive of the second half and they took it in and scored, it was pretty evident that they had taken control of things. And they should. They've got a lot to play for. They could still wind up getting a tie for first if things work out for them. They kind of partially control things, and then they're going to need some help from Rockwood when they play York in the final week. So the Indians, though, are locked in, as we probably would have been even if we won. It would have taken a lot of weird math to get us anywhere else. But as it stands, we're locked in. Week 1, we're going to be going to Hampton. And, Hampton is going to do what Monterey did. They're going to put it on the ground and say, stop us.
As I look at this Oneida football team, last year the strength for Oneida was their defense. The defense carried Oneida. We all thought that would be the same thing this year, and the defense has played well overall this year, especially early in the season against games like Greenback. Even though that was a loss, the defense kept Oneida in that game. Northview Academy, even teams like Wartburg. Now Oneida has given up 40-plus in back-to-back weeks. Now, they've got some injuries, lack of depth on the defensive side of the ball that comes into play. They've also played two really, really good rushing attacks in Rockwood and Monterey. Last year, Oneida was geared to stop the run, but they lost so many on the front seven due to graduation. This year, their strength on defense is not stopping the run. It's stopping the pass. So it's kind of like a perfect storm right now, isn't it, playing Rockwood and Monterey? Is that how you see it from a defensive standpoint?
It is, and I think, with that being said, you've got 2 weeks of the regular season, and then you're going to Hampton. Really, you've got dress rehearsal the next 2 weeks. Vastly different opponents. The Sequoia Chiefs come in Friday night, and they're on a 42-game losing streak. Their last win was September 21st of 2018. It's a 4A team that has shown they look better than they were last year, but, we played them down there last year. This will only be the second meeting. And then 2 weeks after, and then the week after that, Coalfield comes in, and they're kind of the exact opposite. You're getting a team that's on a roll that has improved since week one, and you're going to be getting that both in Coalfield and Hampton. So, the one that counts though is going to be Hampton. So you've got a couple of weeks to try to figure out what you can do and practice it in live game action. And
all right, we'll come back to that Oneida Sequoia game in just a moment to talk about that some more. Rick, Scott High on Friday falls to Fulton 48-14. It was 42-14. Fulton puts a garbage touchdown on the board on the final play of the game. The game was over in the fourth quarter, but before that, as late as midway through the third quarter, that was still very much a football game. It was, in the end, though, Fulton just way too much.
You talk about the third quarter. I don't want to skip over the first quarter, but the score, if you look at the final score, it was not indicative of how hard fought I thought the Highlanders went out and played. Even their coaches, they were excited at halftime, talking about how well that they had hung in there, despite the fact that several starters were missing. And that's an injury run that it happens sometimes, and it's happened to us this year. The first half was real close. You get into the second quarter with 4 minutes to go, maybe in the first half. Highlanders had a 7-6 lead after getting a touchdown. Then the unfortunate thing happened. It's not unfortunate. We did get 2 stops on downs against Fulton in the first half. So we get one of those stops on downs. We get the ball back. We have to punt. Well, look out for Marcellus Jackson. I think I even said during the game, in subsequent punting opportunities, just punt it out of bounds, He took that punt on a real high bounce that came to him, and he went across the field. I would like, you've been getting on me because I've been getting on the referees a little bit. And I said in the first half, these guys are doing a pretty good game. It's not so much what they were calling, it's some of the things that they did not call.
Yeah.
And especially 2 plays that we can think of, they were on the Fulton sidelines. No more than between the sideline and the numbers out on that side of the field. And, you do many things, and you always do that to your sideline. And it's always been thought that referees, they'll not call the things on the team sideline. So we had that 7-6 lead. That punt return gave the lead back to Fulton. Then another pass that we should have done a better job on. And you can look at film, you can do everything you want to there. Fulton relied on Marcellus Jackson. You knew he was going to run the ball. We contained him fairly well, if you look at that. Secondly, we figured out how they get passing yards. It's not a short, controlled passing game. He gets a little room behind the line of scrimmage. He chucks it up. I won't even say he's throwing to a spot. He chucks it up. The speed goes and gets it, even though many times our defender was within a step or a yard or two. So they were able to do that. And I said at halftime, as I've done many games this year, now for the Highlanders to come out, earn a little respect, prepare for next week, win the second half. We got the second half kickoff, as Tim was talking about Oneida did, and we kept it on the ground, marched it 80 yards, I guess, scored on a run. I don't think we threw a single pass during that possession, and suddenly it was a 28-14 game. You're only down by 2 scores. Think about it. You get a couple of stops against Fulton. Offense moved the ball, but we didn't move the ball much more after that. Fulton, they added another touchdown or two one touchdown in the third quarter, one touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then they got that, whatever you want to call it, junky touchdown at the end of the game with zeros on the clock, just to prove that they could, I guess, I'm not their coach, but just to prove that, hey, we can, and maybe the score means something. Maybe that's part of the tiebreaker down the road right there that we have to look forward to. But proud of the way that Highlanders played football Friday night. Obviously, we're out of the playoffs, but for Fulton, that one was very important for them. It may have them the number 2 seed. I won't say it's locked up. They still have to play a Carter team at Carter that is tougher than a lot of people have realized as the season has gone along.
Yeah, certainly Fulton has to like the situation that they're in second place in the standings. And that was the big thing for me in that game, as Harris was reading his injury report at the start of the game. And, of course, I know about these injuries, but just hearing them read off, I mean, that makes it stand out to you. 9 starters. I went back after the game and counted them up. 9 starters for Scott High were out of Friday's game. Now, some of them have been out for a while, like Will Young. He got hurt early on. Yeah. Some of them was out for the first time on Friday, but 9 starters out of that game, and they took it toe-to-toe for 2.5 quarters against the number 2 team in the district. I know we've all been looking for progress. That's what you're looking for at this point. Scott High's not going to the playoffs. You're looking for something that you can build on going into next season. To be honest with you, at Clay County a week ago, I didn't see anything. But Friday night I saw that. I saw a lot of kids out there that were fighting and laying it all on the line.
I know we were pregame. We were an hour delayed from you all. Pregame. Well, the pregame was going. We had it sitting there on the phone watching. We were watching Scott High when you went ahead, the go-ahead touchdown, just mashing forward on them. I mean, it did look like they were finding something. Yeah, and of course that's a good plan to keep the ball out of their quarterback's hands.
To keep it away from Jackson, you have to do that. And some young players. 2 freshmen got a start on defense. Other young players stepped up to play. We weren't that bad with those group on there. And, the coaching staff, H went up a couple weeks ago when they had a JV game at McQuarrie Central, and he calls me later on and says, hey, we weren't that bad. We were there on the field. We were rushing to the ball. We were doing some good things. So a chance for younger players to get in and play, and did decently well. I mean, there's probably by halftime we were touting one of the freshmen. We thought he could be the defensive player of the game, certainly. And like I say, it's just a good effort. It's something to build on. It's something to know that you can go out there and play against a team that everybody predicts is going to beat you. It's just by how much. But we can go out there and do that. Interesting scenario you're talking about. Oneida's last 2 games with Scott High's last 2 games are pretty much identical opponents. You've got Gatlinburg-Pittman that throws the ball all over the field. And then you've got Anderson County that throws the ball all over the field, and they mix in a little more potent rushing game than Gatlinburg-Pittman does. So that's what we've got to look forward to. I mean, those 2 games coming up, I know you'll talk about more of that later. So,
and the good thing about these last 4, 2 for Oneida, 2 for Scott High, all of them are at home. Then I know we're looking forward to that. All right, we'll take our first break. When we come back, Tim has already alluded to Oneida's Friday night game against Sequoia. We'll take a look ahead to this Friday night's games as the roundtable continues. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We're live from El Rey in Oneida alongside Tim Smith, Rick Keaton. I've been Garrett. Guys, we talked about last Friday night. Now, let's put that behind us because I know we all want to do that. It was a tough night of football. New week, new opportunity. Scott High's got Gatlinburg-Pittman at home for the first time in a month, believe it or not. And Oneida will be back at home as well against Sequoia. And Tim, I'll start over here. I think Mark Matthews said it towards the end of Friday night's game. He said next week is an opportunity to get right. And Coach Jimmy May alluded to that, too, in his postgame interview. You already said Sequoia's struggling, 42-game losing streak. They're struggling to be competitive in games, honestly. They're really struggling to move the football. They've scored more than twice, just one time this season. That was in the season opener against Tellico Plains. So for Oneida, you said it's a 2-week warm-up. And so here you go. This is an opportunity to gain some confidence and to iron out some things that you need to fix.
Yeah, Sequoia scored 21 against Tellico Plains. And but now everybody else they played has been a 4A team. And so, I mean, this is the only time they're going to play a 2A team. So it's the only time we're going to play a 4A team. But they have absolutely struggled to score. I think over the last 5 weeks they've put 13 points up. So, 6 in one game, 7 in another. So they're not used to winning. They've not figured out how to do it. I mean, if you're their coach, you got to be thinking, here's your chance. Oneida's 3-5, and I know we're going to their place. I know they got us last year, but we're improved from what we were. This is not East Ridge that we're dealing with. This is Oneida. So I mean, I'm sure there's a real hunger for them coming in here, feeling like this might be an opportunity for them. If you're Oneida, I think you've got the players and the plan to take this one in, and you're ready to come home and try to get right, if that's the word for it. It's just who's going to be there. We've had the inconsistency. We haven't had the injury extent that Scott High has had, but we've had them dotted in different places all year long. You don't have the same lineup. So it's just a different type of situation to deal with. So, and I don't know what this Friday night's going to be like. Jarek Hewling was questionable. He had the 2 huge catches in the opening quarter against Rockwood, and then we didn't have him available at all last week. Colton Daugherty had developed into a really kind of a security blanket receiver. He's a big target, sure hands, not afraid to go across the middle, and so we miss having him. Friday night, can he be back? That would be big. We've got T.D. Ryan is back, but that was his first game back Friday night, so he had limited action, but he did have a catch in the game. And so, I mean, there's weapons there. Levi James, that's our player of the game. He'd been the player of the game earlier this year, mostly for his work at safety, and now this Friday night he was really a good outlet receiver. A good receiver that kind of challenged Monterey. They weren't ready for him on Friday night. So, I mean, we've got the weapons there. And then the running game, T.J. Meredith, still trying to get back. If he can continue to take the steps forward that he has, T.J. finds room, finds running lanes, and it's no disrespect to the other running backs, but, I mean, Weston Hurst was filling in. Very well. He was a receiver that said, okay, I'll step in and try to play running back, and he did a good job in those first few weeks. But TJ is the running back for a reason, and so if he can continue to progress, I think there's a good chance that they're going to experience good things on Friday night versus Sequoia, and we need to get back to some good things. We've lost 2 on the road. It feels like more because we had that bye week in between. Right. So it's been a long time since we've had that winning feeling. And so you want to make progression this week, and then you want to be able to challenge Coalfield going into next week, but the next week after that. But it all, hinges, some of that mental stuff. Can you shake some of that? And I think the Indians can. I think, Sequoia is going to be a good test at a good time. We're getting home at a good time and going to have a good chance here this Friday night. And it would just be nice to see a lot of the pieces back out there together this week, and then the next week, to try to give yourself a chance to compete in those 2 tougher games after this one.
A lot left to play for.
Absolutely.
Because we've talked about it throughout this season. Nobody wants to go to Hampton, but once you're locked in and you can't play your way out of that situation anymore, then you look at it as this is an opportunity. And Oneida had a similar thing last year. They go up to play South Green, which, if memory serves me, was ranked 3rd in the state at the time. And Oneida went up and just whipped them. Yeah. Different situation this year, but it's an opportunity against Hampton. Yeah,
Hampton is different because can Hampton, if you can stop their run, can they pass? Do they have somewhere to go with it? We don't know the answer to that because nobody's stopped their run.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be the first one to do that.
It'd be nice to put them in that situation.
You know what the goal is going to be? It's stop the run, let them beat us with a pass.
Yeah.
In all likelihood. So.
All right. Rockwood defeated Wartburg Friday night 62-26. So just to kind of tidy things up a little bit, that officially puts Oneida into the playoffs. I don't think there was any doubt, but Wartburg could have still thrown a wrench into things if they'd gotten a couple of major upsets in the season. But Rockwood into that, so Wartburg mathematically eliminated. Hampton, by the way, They defeated Cumberland Gap 58-8 on Friday. Another score on Friday, the only other score from Oneida's region that actually involves a team from Scott High's region as well. And Gibbs defeated York Institute 24-7. So, Rick, as we head into Week 9, 2 games remaining, and it's a non-region game this week against Gatlinburg-Pittman, but this is a really good team coming in. You tell me if I'm kind of overstating it. I think that Scott High's played a very tough schedule so far through 8 games. I think the 2 toughest games on the schedule to me are the 2 teams ahead, and it starts with Gatlinburg-Pittman this week.
Ben, I'll certainly agree with that. You're talking about a GP team that comes in 7-1 overall. Their only loss, let me be sure that I correctly get this right here, has been to a team that we know of, Alcoa. The Tornadoes beat them 52-17. They won the rest of their games. Matter of fact, they beat Hampton a couple of weeks ago, 48-40. And I guess a good thing that was played at GP, so they're an outstanding team when they play up there in the mountains. So we've got to do what we've been doing, prepare the team and keep working with these young players, come up with our game plan for offense, our game plan for defense, to be prepared to go out and play a stout team against Gatlinburg-Pittman. This follows up with what I said just a while ago. Brady Hammonds, their quarterback, is a sophomore. He threw for 6 touchdowns last Friday. He finished with 395 passing yards. So you just look at those numbers there. It's just outstanding. He has the school records for most touchdowns thrown in a game, those 6 touchdowns. And so far, the most touchdowns thrown in a season with 24. He has 1,862 passing yards. So he throws the ball a lot. He's got a receiver, who's a junior, by the way. He has 653 yards and 7 touchdowns. But they follow that up. They've got a nice running game. Their leading rusher is Avera. He's also a sophomore. He has 1,158 yards through, I believe, 8 games rushing. So I talked about the pass game, because they've got other receivers just besides Orr, but they've got a big, stout back that is durable. He's got some speed, and he can put points on the game. That reminds me somewhat a lot like Fulton. You have to contain the run, to which the Highlanders did last week. You got to contain the outside. You got to watch where the quarterback's going. It's not impossible that the quarterback, Hammonds, will run, but if you can keep him hemmed up, you rely on your secondary. Well, that's been maybe our Achilles heel all season long. A lot of times we've had backs in coverage, whether it be cornerbacks, whether it be safeties rolling over. We've had backs in coverage and failed to turn their head around, failed to get in position where they can jump up and defend. So it's going to be as tough a test passing to deny GP the passing yards this week, just like it will be in 2 weeks against Anderson County. So I'm just telling you, there's a juggernaut coming to Highlander Field on Friday night, and the GP team, they're going to finish 2, the 2nd seed in the region behind Alcoa. And, that gives them a home field advantage. They can do well with that 2 seed and can advance, I think, to that matchup back with Alcoa again in the 3rd round.
And it's almost scary to think about, really. You talk Gatlinburg 7-1. Their only loss is to Alcoa, which is Alcoa. And you talk about their skill players, and you're talking sophomore, junior. This is a young football team. Mm-hmm. They're very, very good. And I keep thinking this year Scott High eventually is going to run into a quarterback who's not like some kind of a standout all-star quarterback. But we know what Brady Hammonds can do, and we know what Anderson County's got the following week. So at this point, that's not going to happen.
Well, when you're Brady Hammonds and the football field up there is named after your grandfather, I guess it's meant to be maybe in that situation. But it's the Highlanders coming out for pride, for the fact that we know we can do better. We think we can be stout and just go all out. There's some movie where Dan Fouts says, I think it's that prison movie where he says, can't leave anything on the field. Well, it's very true for the Highlanders for the next 2 weeks. We can't leave anything on the field. We got to prove that maybe we belong and position our younger people for next season.
And so two things two things for Scott High. The first is these next 2 weeks is about those 10 seniors and sending them out on a high note. And the second thing is what you just mentioned. For these younger players, the sophomores and the juniors that are playing right now, it is building towards next season.
Oh, yes.
So, all right. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk some soccer as we're joined by a couple of Oneida Lady Indians. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live at El Rey. I'm Ben Garrett. This is Tim Smith. This is Rick Keaton. And these are a couple of Oneida Lady Indian seniors, Alexia Jones and Leah Douglas. You guys getting ready tomorrow night to start season number 3, I guess. You've been through the district tournament in the postseason, now the region tournament, and tomorrow night you get to go on the road to Loudon. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. You guys, as I said, you're going on the road because you lost to Cumberland Gap in the district championship game. We're not going to talk much about that game because that's in the past, and I know everybody wants to forget that. Tomorrow night, though, great opportunity for this team. You guys don't know the experience of not making it to the sub-state game. You guys have been there every year of your career. Tomorrow night's a must-win game. Let's just take off. Tell me about Loudon and what you got to do to win tomorrow night.
Well, we have to generate a lot more offense because we didn't get much of that in the Cumberland Gap game. So we're just kind of, building together again. It was a tough game, so we're trying to recover from that and, play Loudon as well as we can.
Yeah, we're switching a lot of things around to accommodate for Loudon.
Yeah.
We're just really, really focused on getting into their defensive area just in general because their defense is pretty strong. But we're just going to try our best, and I don't even know.
I'm just curious. So, you don't have to have the exact number, but shots on goal, about how many did you all have against Cumberland Gap this last round? If you were guessing.
Probably like 4, maybe,
Yeah,
the entire
wow.
game.
Yeah.
And so that's the strength of Loudon as well, is keeping you from getting shots on goal?
I don't know that they're that strong,
Right.
but they're close.
That's one, but that is kind of so are they as dangerous scoring-wise as Cumberland Gap, or are they a little less dangerous that way?
We've heard that they have some good forwards, but, we haven't really seen any film on them or anything. It's just kind of things that we've heard and their stats. That's all we can look at. So
Across your 4 years, have you played Loudon at all?
no.
Just even heard much about them? They've not been somebody – that's interesting. So some going blind on this one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So we were sitting here last Monday, and we were talking soccer, and I didn't say it because I didn't want Phil Newport to send me nasty text messages. And he might have done that. But going up against Rockwood in the district semifinals, which was also an elimination game, we kind of all knew Oneida's going to take care of business. Now, that was actually a tough game. Rockwood, I don't want to take anything away from them. They played good. That was 1-0 at halftime. But in the second half, you guys pulled away as most people thought that you would. Tomorrow night against Loudon, though, and you've already mentioned they're a pretty good soccer team. They're 13-5 coming into this. They've probably not played a team, in my opinion, among their 13 wins that is as good as Oneida, but they've beaten some teams like Clinton and Harriman, some teams that you guys have played and are familiar with. But tomorrow night against Loudon, big game for Oneida soccer tomorrow night. So aside from changing up your offense, you mentioned you're moving some pieces around. What else are you going to do to try to come home with a win tomorrow night to get back to the region championship game again?
We got to start strong. We have to be on top of it from the get-go, and we have to be aggressive and just really go at them from the word go, or we're not going to do too hot. So
I'm going to let Tim grill you, Aaliyah, in just a moment because he's got a question for you. We've had both of you guys on earlier this season. Aaliyah, we had you here. Alexia, you were actually here, I think, our very first week. Yeah. But we've not had you guys on together. Now, you guys are quite a combo in that you are Oneida's 2 leading scorers. And I actually sat here earlier and tallied it up. And if my count's right, and it's probably not, but if it's right, I've got Aaliyah with 48 points this season. I've got you, Alexia, with 38 points. That's 19 goals and 15 goals. So a total of 34 goals combined between you guys, which is really impressive. Cam Kennedy, who's actually sitting here, she's not too far behind you guys with 31 points. Claire Burris, she's here too. If she hadn't been injured, she would be in that conversation as well. But you two guys are the 2 leading scorers. Offensively, you guys are the ones that make this team go. And a lot of times, one of you is assisting the other when you score. So talk about your dynamic, how you guys work together on the soccer field.
we've played together for I don't know how long. And we know each other pretty well.
We do.
We work pretty well together, and I don't know. I can trust anything and everything you do. I don't have to worry about anything at all because you're always there and you have my back. So
Same with me.
So do you take it personal, like in a shutout game the other night? I mean, does that feel like an extra weight on you guys because you're the scoring leaders? Do you feel an extra weight on that?
a little just a little bit, but
So you're the all-time career leading scorer? Let me ask you this. I'm going to start with Alexia. What makes Aaliyah so good?
She's fast. She's very fast. And she has really good footwork. She can get around people very easily. And her size is also a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could grab one attribute from Aaliyah, it would be what?
Her speed.
Her speed. All right,
Sure.
Alexia, same question on Alexia.
man, her foot skills are unmatched anywhere in high school soccer, honestly. She just blows people out of the water. She's so calm and relaxed, and you know what you're going to do with the ball. It blows me away. Her field vision is incredible. I mean, it's awesome, honestly.
Sounds like there's nobody you guys would rather play with than each other. So tell me this. How are you going to make sure Loudon doesn't stop you this week? Have you got – I mean, don't give me something they could use to know. But, I mean, do you like create excitement in yourself about what you're going to do? Do you psych yourselves up? What's the recipe to get you going for a soccer game? I'll go with you first, Leah.
For me, there has to be good energy in the whole team. We all have to be excited collectively. It can't be just one person getting excited because then I don't feel it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to warm up really good. I have to start really strong and just get in the right mindset, kind of calm down and really focus on me and what I need to do to help them out.
Is there anything that helps you do that, or that makes you know what, tonight I'm ready because I did this? Or does it just happen?
I pray my heart out before a game, honestly. That's the only reason that I'm calm and focused. I mean, if I didn't do that, I would be all over the place. It would be bad.
All right. Alexia, what about you? What do you do to make sure you're right and ready to go?
Well, after our team conversation with like Coach Newport and stuff, the starters always have like a breakdown on the field before big games, and we always talk to each other. Let out any, any problems we might have, or with the team. So we just settle everything before we get out there and play, and have a clear mind and get out there.
Just a couple of quick more. Should we be worried if you get down 1-0? Is that a concern? Does that cause you to go, we're down 1-0? Is that even a worry?
No.
You're good.
Yeah.
Doesn't scare you.
No.
You've been there before. All right. That's good. That's good. Now, I do want to ask Aaliyah, because I wasn't here the last time Aaliyah was here.
No, you were
I don't
not.
think. So I didn't get to ask her, but her mother, I watched her play middle school basketball. I was called the assistant coach, but pretty much I was just keeping stats. But I think I know the answer to this, but where do you get your competitiveness from? Is it from your mother?
Oh, it's from my mom for sure. Yeah.
I believe that. Julie was, just a warrior on the floor. Yeah, and so if you play soccer like she played basketball, then we're in good shape. So what's the one thing you hope to see, Alexia, in this game within the first 10 minutes? If this happens, you know it's going to be a good night.
I just hope we as a team connect. We had a rough night the other night, so I just hope this is something that we can all have a good time, go out there and play our best, and if things don't go our way, we can say we left it all out in the field.
Y'all played together a long time. It would seem to me the motivation is to not let this be the last time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll carry you through. Good luck, ladies.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that too. Good luck on tomorrow night's game. We got to know Aaliyah a couple of weeks ago. She made a road trip over to Gibbs to watch the Highlanders play, and she was the only one not huffing and puffing after we climbed those 83 steps to the press box. So I wish this team the very best of luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Bring home the dub.
Now, you guys are not going to slide out of here that easy because Rick softballed you, and Tim was a little tougher. But I got a question for Alexia because, Aaliyah, I've talked to you after several games this year, and you're always just like you can't be phased. Win or lose, you're calm, and I'm sure internally maybe you're a little more worked up, whatever. But you don't show much emotion don't show much emotion when you lose. Alexia, I want to know how it is for you to get mad after Cumberland Gap Thursday night. How mad were you after that game?
I don't talk to anyone. I just go straight to the car and sometimes cry, but I don't talk about that. That's weak.
All right, so I said we were not going to talk about Cumberland Gap, but Cumberland Gap, I think every team's got a rival, and Cumberland Gap is not his biggest rival. I think that's safe to say on the soccer field. So is that extra motivation? Because now they've got to beat Polk County to get to Thursday's championship game, but if you win tomorrow night, you're guaranteeing yourself 2 more games, the Thursday night championship game and then the sub-state game on Saturday. But you're probably going to see Cumberland Gap on Thursday. Is that a little extra motivation for tomorrow night to try to get back and get another shot at them?
Yeah, especially because our coach is out for 2 games. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but yeah.
I have. Yeah.
I have not.
I was aware.
Yeah, Phil was ejected from the Thursday night game against Cumberland Gap. And if I remember, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, he had gotten a yellow card for complaining about a call. Yeah. But his second yellow card was kind of a technicality, right? It was like a uniform deal. Someone didn't take some jewelry off or something. Am I correct about that? Mm-hmm. So, anyway, it seems very unfair, but TSSAA is again a TSSAA. You guys don't have to agree with me. I'm just interjecting my opinion a little bit. Okay, but anyway, carry on with your thought. With Phil being out for 2 games, I'm sorry.
He wants us. Well, we want to win for him too, because if we lose this game, we won't have him as a coach, obviously. But if we win, we get him back on Saturday. So we need to win for him. All
right, good motivation. Oneida versus Loudon. That'll be tomorrow night at Loudon. 6:30 start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
okay. I think so.
Okay. Good luck tomorrow night, Aaliyah Douglas, Alexia Jones, and the rest of the Oneida Lady Indians. We'll take another break. When we come back, we're going to flip back over to football again and talk to our players of the game from Friday night. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from El Rey, and now we are joined by Friday night's Players of the Game. First National Bank Players of the Game. By the way, they sponsor that. I should probably plug that.
And he wore a First National Bank shirt.
I noticed that.
Yep.
Levi is on the ball. Oneida's Levi James, Scott High's Alton Whaley. Both of these guys are are 2-time players of the game this year. And Alton, we're going to start with you. Career high on Friday night, 120 yards rushing on 25 carries. Now, before I let Rick get started, because he's going to grill you good about Friday night's game, Woody's trivia Friday night was who has the most rushing yards, single-game rushing yards in Scott High history. The answer to that was Wesley Smith, who back in 2005 rushed for 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns at Fulton, same field that you were on Friday night. And if I'm wrong, Rick, you correct me, but I believe Friday night was the first game since then. Now, in all fairness, Scott's not played Fulton a lot since 2005, but they've played a few times, and I believe that was the first time Friday night that a Scott High running back has rushed for 100-plus yards against Fulton.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, so congratulations. That was a good game.
Thank you.
Ready? As we turn the clock back and we think about the game the other night, Fulton got the first score. Mm-hmm. They went for 2. They failed. We come back in the second quarter, get the touchdown run, get the extra point by Hugo, 7-6 with 4.5 minutes or so left in the first half. Give us your thoughts and then team thoughts. What was happening with the team at that point Friday night?
I don't know. I think we was all just – whenever we went up, it kind of caught us off guard really, because, I think caught everybody off guard. Nobody expected us to come out and do that. And whenever we got out there, we just kind of let our hopes get up, I guess. And then they started returning everything on us, and I don't think we do real good on keeping energy after a big play like that happens. So whenever he returned that punt return on the people, it just really took a toll on us.
It gave the Falcons that 14-7 lead because they converted a 2-point conversion on that. Well, you're on the sidelines when the defense is out on the field, and you've got to be pretty proud of the defense. You take away that punt return and one other penalty type thing there in the first half, but take away that punt return, the defense done real well.
Yeah, we held them out pretty good there, especially that first. I think it was the first. No, it was the second time.
Their second possession.
Yeah, their second possession, we held them out, and Jaden locked them up on that deep throw right there, and that really gave us a lot of motivation there too put it where we needed to be.
Well, defense got 2 of those turnovers on downs in the first half. I mean, so you could feel that there was some intensity. I think if you can tell me about the intensity on the sideline, we could feel it. And also the fact that I felt most of your team thought, hey, this is something different. Let's see if we can build on this.
Yeah. Whenever we really went up, it was just we all started getting real hopped up. Whenever we normally if they score first, we all lose our energy. But then we came out and we scored, and we all got our energy back, and that's when the defense comes out and really shows off.
Well, in that second quarter, about I think a little less than 5 minutes, they were able to pick up 3 touchdown scores. Basically, it goes from that, what was a 7-6 lead, it bumps it up to 28-7 at halftime. Highlanders get the ball to start the third quarter. And we go to the ground game. I don't think we threw a single pass on that drive.
No, I don't think so.
And you must have carried, between you and Brady, you carried the ball the most until we got down on, well, you carried the ball certainly the most. And we were watching up there in the press box, and after every carry, you're tapping the helmet, hey, give me a break here. And you're bending over and resting. And then plays call, you step up there, you carry the ball again and again and again. And even before the touchdown run, that 1-yard touchdown run, you were just breathing hard with, holding, bending over at the waist, breathing hard. But it appears to me like you sucked it up each and every time that you had to carry the ball.
Yeah, and I got to thank Billy for that, really, because I was trying to get out, but every time I'd bend over, I'd just hear Billy and everybody on the sideline screaming, finish it, stand up. Don't let them know you're tired. Coach Harris, actually, after I got off the field and got on the sideline, Coach Harris came over there to me, and I was laying down on the turf on the side, and Coach told me that I could do that all day, but when I'm out there on the field, don't let them know I'm tired.
Exactly. That was a big momentum change. We're 28-14, just 2 touchdown scores. The defense had forced the turnovers on downs twice in the first half. You get one more of those, move the ball down the field, it can be a 1 touchdown score difference. So what was going on when I think they scored, we got the ball back, but we just didn't move it. I mean, we went 3 and out and had to punt to them, and that's Katie bar the door when you have to punt to a Fulton team that's got number 1 ready to return. And I'm sitting in the box, I'm saying, Hugo, kick it out of bounds. Hugo, kick it out of bounds. And somehow it just didn't ever get out of bounds. But
no, we went over that all week. Don't kick the number 1. I think we even put it in his notes not to kick the number 1, but I don't know if he's that accurate of a kicker quite yet.
Well, he's wait a minute. I'm on Hugo's side a little bit right here. We had punter number 1 and punter number 2 out with injuries. Yeah. And so that leaves Hugo. And Hugo, I thought, was a pretty good option in the rugby-style type kick.
He filled the position.
And the only problem was he was kicking, and on their turf, they were getting these high bounces that they were able to field, just straight down the field. They were able to go with it. But overall,
he filled the position pretty good, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not just because he's here and listening, but he did admirable in that spot. We get through the Fulton game now. We got to focus on another very tough opponent in Gatlinburg-Pittman. Anything, I know you guys spend Mondays watching film. Anything we need to, I think I know. They're a passing team first. They've got an extremely good running back. They've got a complete package, and they can go out and play defense well. What do you think about GP?
They're a pretty good team, but I think if we just come out on fire like we did against Fulton, I feel like we can really surprise a lot of the people that's watching and playing against us. Really surprise them. But I'd say their biggest threat's probably their running back. But other than that, I think if we just come out, don't lose our energy off the first score, I feel like we can do pretty good against them.
Want to backtrack just 1 second. Started 2 freshmen on defense the other night and some other youngsters in there. Sort of rate that group of young men on the team right now.
The freshmen, oh gosh. they've got their days, but you can tell some of them are ready to get after it, ready to learn, be able to play, and I think they was just waiting for their chance. Whenever that JV game came along, a lot of them earned their chance and got their starting spot on there. But I mean, they're not bad.
They're not bad, yeah. Well, you know, you're a senior. Somebody's got to be stepping up, thinking about playing in your position next year.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to talk about himself. So.
Auden, you are my new favorite Scott High player. Anybody that can come in here and put Hugo on the spot like you just did, I admire that. No, I'm going to come back to something that you said in just a minute, so hang tight. But Levi's feeling neglected, so we got to swing over here. He's hung around Mark Matthews for so long that he feels like he's got to have that attention, Tim Smith. No, Levi, and you guys correct me, Rick, and Tim, if I'm wrong, but Levi, I think, is our first sophomore player of the game, our only sophomore player of the game this season so far, and now he's been player of the game twice. Tim, you mentioned the last time it was for defense, and this time another good defensive game, but also the leading receiver for Oneida against Monterey on Friday night. So congratulations on a fine game.
Yeah, we got a little thin at receiver on Friday night with Colton and Jarek not available, and so we needed somebody to step up, and Levi did. So that's first thing we're going to ask you, Levi. We talked about how aggressive you are on defense, coming up from that safety position. You were still doing that Friday night, and you had 13 tackles in the last game. That's why you were here. This night, we needed somebody to catch the football, and you stepped up and did that. Which do you like better? Which would you rather play? Because you were on both of them, right?
Yeah.
On Friday night. But which one, if you had your choice, would you rather play?
I like playing wide receiver. It's fun, but there's nothing like defense. I love it. I love playing defense. I love tackling people.
So
I think he told us that last time he was here.
I was just making sure because
I think he hadn't
made
Kevin asked him that question.
He hadn't had all those receptions last time, so I thought it might have changed.
Yeah, that was my one. This last game was my one big game at wide receiver that I got in a lot at.
Yeah. So tell me, in the 8 games you played, what's the best team you all have played this year in your estimation? Who do you think's been the toughest, the best team?
I think York was the best competition we've had all around. Last game, we were short on players, and they just ran it. Yeah. But I think York was the best team we've played so far.
All right. And so now you guys are going to have to get ready for the playoffs. You're playoff bound. You've got 2 weeks to do that. This week is going to be Sequoia. So is there anything that in particular that Coach has said, here's what we're going to work on this week? We're going to get better at this.
He ain't really said much about that, but I just know we got to keep our heads up the entire game because we didn't do that against Monterey. School is going to be a tough game. They're a good team. We just got to keep our heads up and keep on playing.
Feels like you're just not that far away. We've been losing these games, but it's not that far away, right? I mean, when it was 14-3, if you guys could have just got a stop going into halftime, you were getting the ball back. It might have been a different game.
Yes, sir.
What would have to change for you all to get that stop?
I think by the time they scored and everything, we just started holding our heads down like we do every time. We get real emotional. We stop playing like we should, like we know how to. I don't know. Something just changes in our mindset, and we got to keep on playing.
All right. Do you have an emotional leader on the field? Anybody that kind of goes around and tries to keep everybody lined up that way?
Elijah Phillips is that guy for sure.
Yeah.
He tries to keep our heads up all the time.
All right. Now, when we do these players of the game, we debate. I mean, somebody will throw out a name, we'll look at stats, we'll look at these different things, and then kind of all settle on it. If you were picking a player of the game on the Monterey game, who might you have selected? You're the player of the game, but who do you think probably should have got player of the game if it wasn't you?
I probably would have picked probably Caden.
Yeah.
I heard he got most completions in the season or something like that.
In a game, I think.
Yeah,
17.
in a game.
Yeah. I think he tied his own record, 17 in a game. Yeah.
He did really well.
What about for MVP for the season? We've played 8 games. Season's not over, but if you had to pick an MVP for the season. You can pick one offense, one defense. Do that.
Defense, I'd say Lige. Lige is definitely that guy on defense.
Elijah Phillips.
Offense, maybe Jarek, maybe Caden.
All right.
One of those guys.
What about the weather? You get these weather swings through the season. Starts off just sweat and cramp and all that stuff, and then you get into these games where it's going to be really cold at night. Does weather affect your play, the way you play?
No. When it's cold out there, you start running around and you kind of get used to it. Your body warms up and you start playing.
All right, Levi, I may have asked you this last time because I am getting old, but did you select number 13 or did they select it for you?
I've always played number 13.
Why is that?
My uncle, he passed away. His name was Caleb. He played for Huntsville, and
What was his last name?
Davidson.
Caleb Davidson. And he was 13?
Yep. My older brother, Noah, when he played football, he always wore 13. It's just something we've chose to do.
All right. Well, I didn't ask you last time. I'm glad I did ask you this time. Levi, you are our player of the game for Friday night. Did a great job. And, of course, you know what that does. You're a sophomore, so the expectations are there. Yeah, Mark, stay on you about that. I wasn't going to bring Mark up, but, you did. So.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's not here to say anything about it.
He don't come.
I know, yeah. Not very supportive, is he?
No, not at all.
That's shameful, really.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah. Maybe we'll fine him or make him sit.
I'll call him after this.
Yeah,
I'll talk to him.
we may make him sit the first quarter next time.
We should.
Yeah.
Maybe
But then it's going to be you and John L.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to do that?
Let me ask you that. MVP of the broadcast team, take me out of it. Is it Mark or John L?
This is hard. I think I got to choose Mark because, I'm at his house every day, so I don't want to beat me up.
And that's the only reason.
Diplomatic answer.
There you go. All right.
All right, now before we step out of this segment, I'm going to come back over here to you, Alton, because you brought something up. And I wouldn't have asked you this. I'm going to put you on the spot, though. It's kind of like if you're on trial and you decide to take the witness stand, the prosecutor's sitting there, and there's things he wants to ask you, but he can't unless your attorney asks you and you bring it up, and then it's open. The floor's open, and he can grill you. So I'm going to grill you. Mm-hmm. Now, you said this a couple of times. You guys, when a big play happens, you lose your energy. It's kind of like, well, here we go again. And we've picked up on that throughout this season. So I'm going to ask you, what do you have to do as a team to change that and not lose your energy when something goes wrong and just, as General Nealon, I think it was, said, Tim, am I right, put on more steam? Is that a General Nealon maxim?
Yes.
Put on more steam when something goes wrong.
Whenever a big play like that happens, you just got to come out, punch him in the mouth next play, and don't let it happen again, really, I guess. Because once the big play happens like that, and then you go out and you stop them after that, the big play is just like it never happened. Momentum's back up on defense.
Okay. Alton Whaley, 120 yards, career high against Fulton. Levi James, leading receiver and second leading tackler for Oneida Friday night against Monterey, our first National Bank players of the game. Congratulations, guys. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to this week's games. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. I'm Ben Garrett alongside Tim Smith, Rick Keaton. We are live from El Rey, and it's time for what is typically our final segment of the night, where we look ahead to this week's games and pick our winners, and we bring in a couple of cheerleaders to help us do that. We started doing this a couple of weeks ago. I hope you guys know what you got yourselves into, right? So we moved this segment up again this week because we're ending with a pre-recorded segment with Sparky Woods as our legend of the game. But we're joined by Oneida cheerleader Anna Hamilton, Scott High cheerleader Braylon Bird. Both of these guys are juniors. And so, guys, first of all, thank you for joining us. And let me say right off the bat, okay, I don't even know if you guys watched the last 2 weeks to watch your cohorts on here. But I asked a question that has been retired, and that question was, why is cheerleading a sport? I've caught so much ridicule from Tim Smith. I'm not even going to ask you guys that. But I am going to ask, and I'll start with you, Braylon. You cheered in middle school, right? And so you've continued in high school. Your older sister was a cheerleader. Why did you choose cheerleader? Some people choose soccer, some choose basketball, softball. You played soccer at one point, but you settled on cheerleading. Why did you choose cheerleading?
I chose cheer just because I've always been around it, and it's just kind of something that I've grown up around, and I enjoy it.
And your mom was a cheerleader? right?
I don't think so.
She wasn't? Well, I'm wrong. So, all
There
right.
we go. We got the definitive answer to that question.
Anna, how about you? Why did you choose cheer? You were also a cheerleader in middle school.
Yes. I went to little girls cheer camp whenever I was younger, and I think that just kind of led me to middle school.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of football season, and we're going to swing into basketball, and you guys are going to, football players, they'll be hanging it up here pretty soon, but you guys get to roll right into basketball season and keep going, and you've got a few months left this season. What's your favorite, football or basketball?
I think I like the atmosphere of football games better, but I like watching basketball.
Okay. How about, by the way, before I ask Braylon this, let me point out, Tim Smith, that the 7th district in Scott County is well represented here. West Oneida. Greg Bond is West Oneida. Tim Smith is West Oneida. I'm West Oneida. Braylon is West Oneida. Rick's a Helenwood guy. Sorry, Rick. You're
No,
back
it's,
out.
You don't have to apologize because we know, which one's the best.
So and I know that doesn't mean 7th district means nothing to you right now because you're not old enough to vote, but in the next election, you'll be old enough to vote. Tim Smith's running for county commissioner. He would like your votes. Just keep that in mind.
Hashtag Tom Payne.
Yeah, don't upset the flow now.
Yeah, I'm kidding, okay? I'm kidding. Tim goes to church with Tom. We probably don't need it.
No, there's no controversy there. No danger.
Derek Keaton accuses me of stirring the pot, and I don't want to let him down. So that, So, but anyway, what was my question? What did I ask you?
What I like better.
Yes, I'm okay.
Football
or basketball?
Are you not going to ask her about a lawyer? Or are you not going to set it up by saying something about a lawyer like you did for Alton? That was the most confusing question I've ever heard in my life.
Football.
Man, okay, good deal. All right, so but basketball's coming up, and you're looking forward to basketball as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pick the winners of this week's games. Let me ask you guys this. You obviously, Anna, you're with Oneida every week. Wherever Oneida's at, you're there. You're with Scott High every week. Do you guys watch much football, high school football outside of Scott High and Oneida? I think that's been the answer every week so far. So that's good. So you guys will do really well with this.
Can I ask 2 quick ones? I know
Absolutely.
we're time sensitive,
absolutely.
but I just want to ask you. So did your mother cheer?
Mm-mm.
No, she didn't cheer. But your dad played. I remember your dad played, and I know that your grandfather made one of the most lasting memorials to that. This is the 30 year of the 92 championship team, right?
Yeah.
And Bill Hamilton created that incredible pencil print, commemorative print of the Oneida 92 championship team. So a big shout out to him. That hangs on my wall. It's one of the greatest things, really, greatest memories that we even use it in our throwbacks to show what he had done there. And what incredible artist, incredible family, great people, and both Trace and Chris. I think they're good people, and so I just want to throw that out. And then the second thing I want to say is about the atmosphere, what you're saying about football and basketball. But isn't there something, too, in the basketball part about everybody's packed in real tight? When you've got a real tight game and everybody's right all packed on each other, that one's pretty good, too. I like both of them, but, okay, I'm done. Surrender the rest of my time.
Okay, kind of like an attorney,
Just
right?
as well. Or,
I
or a
don't
commissioner.
I don't want any more time in this segment. Just thank both guys for being here. First generation cheerleaders, I must.
And I apologize to Natasha for thinking that she was a cheerleader in high school. That's been a long time ago in my defense. I do want to ask you before we get into these games this week, because I see Rylan Griffin sitting back here at your table, and there's no doubt that Rylan is Brady Strunk's favorite target. Okay, when he's throwing the football. Now, as the game is going on, you guys both have your backs turned to the field. When the actual game is taking place, you're looking at the crowd most of the time. But I got to ask you, when Brady Strunk throws a football and he targets Hugo Henry or somebody besides number 9, do you get mad just a little bit? I appreciate your honesty. All right, let's look at this week's games, and we got a lot of them, and we're going to start off Wartburg and Sunbright. This is Wartburg, of course, is an Oneida opponent, and they're 2-6. They're going to play a 1-7 Sunbright team. So, Anna, I'm going to ask you to tell us who's going to win that game, Wartburg and Sunbright Friday night.
Wartburg.
Wartburg. Okay, I would agree. Wartburg. You guys, by the way, Tim and Rick, chime in on any of these games as well.
I'll tell you if Anna's wrong.
Okay, good deal. You do the same. You tell us if Braylon is wrong.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
That's the reason I got off the picking panel, because I couldn't do good at picking games.
We've got Rockwood, another Oneida opponent, at 5-3. They're playing at McMinn Central. McMinn is also 5-3. There are a lot of good games this week, by the way, Tim. This is going to be one of them. Rockwood and McMinn Central, two really good football teams. Who's going to win that game?
Rockwood.
Rockwood?
The other McMinn.
To the other. So we got Rockwood and the other. Do you guys concur
Well,
with
you've
that?
got
One of them's
McMinn
not wrong.
Central and McMinn County, so you've got to say more than McMinn. It's McMinn Central.
True. All right. Monterey. This is the team obviously just defeated Oneida on Friday night. They're 6-2. They're taking on Bledsoe County. Bledsoe County is also a good team. They're 5-3. They're coming off a 52-7 win over Tellico Plains. So who do you like in that game, Monterey or Bledsoe County? Bledsoe County.
Monterey.
Monterey. Monterey's a good football team. I would agree with that pick.
Monterey.
Monterey. All right. So it's unanimous on Monterey. And to round out things in Oneida's region, we got York Institute. Oneida's also familiar with them. They're 5-3. They're going up against a team that Scott High is familiar with in Clay County. Clay County is 7-1. This is an intriguing matchup. Do you like York Institute or Clay County?
Clay County.
Clay County. All right.
York.
York. Is there some animosity there with Clay County just a little
Yeah.
bit? And maybe with York as well? So you guys don't you don't like Clay County, you don't like York. They beat the home teams. I'm with you on that. Good picks. All right, swinging it around to Scott High's district, Anderson County. They're 8-0. They've not really been seriously challenged in several weeks. Braylon, they're taking on Bearden this week. Bearden is a good team too, though. They're 6-2. Do you like Anderson County to stay undefeated, or can Bearden knock them off?
Bearden can knock them off.
All right. Oh, they're a big upset there.
Ooh.
Okay. What do you think?
Bearden.
Okay. Wow, it's unanimous, guys. You said you were going to pitch in if they were wrong. Okay.
Anderson
So
County.
it's going to be
They'll
Bearden.
I'm going to Anderson County.
Anderson County's going to use this as get their
Yeah.
attention game because it doesn't hurt. They'll go ahead and let Bearden have this one so that they can get their players.
They want all their players
That's right.
for the final
That's
regular season game. I know.
And we know that's how Tony Lambert and Davey Gillum work, right? I mean, they say, well, at the end of the regular season, we've got the number 1 seed wrapped up. Let's just throw
they're
this one away. and
always
get-
thinking about what's ahead. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Gibbs, 5-3. Scott High has seen them this year. They're playing at Clinton. Clinton is 4-4. Another really evenly matched game. Who do you like in that game?
Clinton.
Clinton, again.
See,
with a-
she holds a grudge.
Absolutely. Clinton or Gibbs? You're going to take Clinton as well.
Yep.
Okay, so once again, it is unanimous. Do you get this? So you kind of you don't forgive and forget very easily. Does that come from your mom or your dad? I only ask that because I know they're both sitting here.
I don't know both.
Okay. All right. Fulton is 4-4. We just saw Fulton on Friday night. They're playing against a really good Farragut team, which is 6-2. Is it going to be Fulton or is it going to be Farragut?
Very good.
Farragut. Okay.
Very good.
Farragut. All right. Still unanimous.
Love it, Braylon. Love it.
Here we go. Carter, 4-4. We've seen Carter, but they're playing South Dole. We've seen South Dole too. So now you're on the spot. Carter or South Dole?
South Dole.
South Dole. Okay. South Dole. Are you just mimicking her answers? Is that how this
Maybe.
works? Okay, so it's unanimous again. So we've been unanimous on, I think, every single game so far. So South Dole is going to beat Carter.
No, they split. They split on a
split
couple
on.
of games.
Yeah.
I have a short memory. Sorry, guys. All right, now we come down to the home teams. We'll start here. Oneida playing Sequoia. Oneida's 3-5, looking to get back on track, playing a Sequoia team that would love to get their first win of the season. We talked a lot about this game already tonight. I know you weren't sitting back there and listening. Tim broke down this game, though. See, Tim has already told us who's going to win. What do you think? It's going to be Oneida or Sequoia?
Oneida.
Absolutely.
Oneida.
Oneida. I was waiting to see if you were going to pick Sequoia on that. Okay. All right. And finally, Scott High. Now, the Highlanders are also 0-8 and would love to get their first one of the season, taking on a very good Gatlinburg team that's 7-1 and setting second in their district. Rick has talked a lot about Scott High and Gatlinburg coming up this Friday night. Who are you going to take?
Can I pick? Well, no. Go ahead and pick.
Okay.
Go ahead. Then I'm going to pick that.
Oh, I can already see. Now let's drag this one out a little bit because I can see she's going to struggle with this answer. Scott High or Gatlinburg?
Gatlinburg.
Rick.
The Highlanders are going to win.
The Highlanders are going to win. There's no doubt about
Nailed
that.
it.
Okay.
I nailed that one, didn't I?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
All right. Don't tell anybody.
And when he gives the score Friday night, that's what he's going to say. Highlanders 15, Highlanders 7.
That's right.
Don't tell anybody that I said this because I'm going to get in trouble, but I don't blame you for picking Gatlinburg. I mean, that's tough. Sorry, Braylon. That's a tough pick. All right. So, Braylon Bird, Scott High, Anna Hamilton, Oneida, thank you guys for joining us. Good luck on Friday night.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with our legend of the game, Sparky Woods. Welcome back to the Roundtable on the IH Sports Network. We are live from El Rey, and it is time, as always, to end things with our Legends of the Game, presented by the Black Cat Antiques and Collectibles on Main Street. And, Tim, last week we had part one of our interview with Sparky Woods. This week we've got part two pre-recorded from Chapel Hill. from the stadium at Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina, which the name of it just escaped me. As we were making the trip, Kenan Stadium, right? As we were making the trip over, you and I were talking about sitting down with Sparky Woods, and first of all, we got there a couple hours early, as you mentioned last week, and of course he came right in and was very gracious with his time. But I said, how long are you going to talk to him for? I'm thinking maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And you said maybe 2 hours if he would give you that much time. And I got to be honest with you. In my mind, I'm thinking he's busy. Had a game coming up at Miami 2 days later. Just not sure he's going to give you that much time. He gave you all the time that you needed. And so that's why we've got a part 1 and a part 2 of this. You guys talked for an hour and a half, as it turned out, and actually longer if you include the breaks and everything else. But Sparky Woods was very generous with this time with you.
Absolutely. And, the whole way home I was thinking of questions I should have asked and could have asked. And as you'll hear at the end of the interview, he's open to maybe some more information later on down the road. I mean, I think we just barely scratched the surface of basketball. And he has a great history in basketball there too. But one of the things I did want to mention going into this segment, and I told Jason Terry I was going to apologize to him because sitting there listening to Coach Woods go on about his middle school experience, and I didn't think to mention the middle school experience currently going on for the Oneida middle school teams. And then I thought about how this ties together. Coach Terry and his team, they're going to play a playoff game this Thursday night, and then if they can win that, they'll play for a championship, and he's been very successful. Prior to him, it's just been one successful coach after another in that middle school level. And sometimes people think, well, that's just middle school. But you can hear in Coach Woods, middle school, very important. And it was one of the most important things to him. So you go backwards from Coach Terry, you had Heath Sexton, and you had Kevin Terry, you had late Jared Henry, and you had Bill Hall, and you had Robert Wright. And Robert Wright, a dear friend of Coach Woods. And so I told Jason Terry I was going to apologize to him because Coach Woods emphasized his middle school experience and the middle school coaches so much that I felt like I should have pursued that a little bit more. But last week was really good, I thought. And if you didn't get a chance to watch that, I hope you do go back and watch it. But tonight, I've told folks I feel like is even better. Coach Woods, he's going to tell you some stories. There's some humor in the stories. There's some touching parts in the stories. But each time he begins to spin a tale, you can tell he has taken himself back to that moment and taking you there with him, whether it's something humorous or something that made him nervous. I'm excited for folks to see this and for more folks to hear Coach Woods talk about more folks from the area and what they meant to him. And, again, just want to thank him for giving us the time. And we thank the Black Cat for the Legends segment that has been, I think, one of our bigger surprises this year in what it's meant to folks. And so hopefully that continues. And I think you'll enjoy this part 2 with Coach Sparky Woods tonight. So absolutes are tough, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But I do want to ask the question, drawing back and looking at the years of playing football at Oneida, do you have an absolute best memory, and do you have a worst memory? And you can choose whichever order you want to send those in, or to refuse that and we'll go on to something else. It's your
I'm
choice.
sure one of those losses had to be my worst memory, I guess. Usually probably the state semifinals where we'd lose those because we were just one game away from playing for the state championship. And I'm not sure I really understood the magnitude of that either at the time. One thing we do as coaches is we try to get players to take one game at a time. And I literally did that as a player. Every Friday night was that's the biggest thing going on until next Friday night, you know. And so I don't know that I remember having, we can beat this team, now we're going to play that team. It didn't matter if we were playing Sunbright or whoever it was, it was a big deal. So I literally probably saw the semifinals as another game. And big game, important, but just another game and all. So I don't know that I realized how, dang on, we were only one game away till even later years. But probably one of those losses had to do with it as much as anything. I did think it was sad when the county came together with Scott County High School. We did kind of break up. Some kids had to go to different schools, and I kind of thought that was sad because one great thing about Oneida is you get to know everybody at school and friends, and so that's kind of sad, that part, happy sad, I guess. But as far as things I remember, truthfully, I think that I remember I was so proud of Steve Phillips was really a dear friend of mine. And there was a great player at Alcoa named Albert Davis, and he was a great player, signed with Tennessee, and he and Steve were like every Friday night. Then on Saturday morning, now Albert was leading the state in scoring, or Steve was, and then the next week it may change. And I remember it was the last game of the season. And I remember I got in trouble with Coach Daniel about this, but they had a kind of a rain out or something that Alcoa played on Thursday night. And they won, and he scored, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 touchdowns or something. Albert did. He was a great player. But anyway, I kind of knew going in what Steve had to do to win the state scoring championship. And we had a little old option play where we'd fake it to the fullback and keep it outside, and it was a pitch keep off of the support player. And of course, Coach Daniel was a good coach. He told us, pitch it whenever you can, because we want to get it to Steve, you know. But sure enough, if I'd been playing defense, they took Steve. They were going to make me run the ball, and I don't blame them. But anyway, I broke loose, and we were running. And we were way ahead of both of them, and it was in the fourth quarter. And I remember, and he was right there, and I remember pitching it to him right before we crossed the goal line. So he scored. It was like a 70-yard run, but he scores on the last 10 yards. But rightly so, he was the best player in the state, I thought. But he ended up being the state leading scorer. So we've had a lot of fun memories about that. And I remember Coach Daniels. You could have fumbled the ball. You could have pitched the ball. We were probably ahead. I don't know how many touchdowns, but he was jumped my tail real good for not keeping the ball and running in the end zone with it. But anyway, it worked out.
And I'm going to come back later to Robert Wright in just a minute, but I do want to interject something here because you're telling a story, an on-field story, and he told me that you might deny this or at least deny the memory of it, but he told me that as an 8th grader. It was a very close game. I believe he said he was 8th grade, and he was with the varsity, and there was a close game. I think he said it was 6-0, and coach sent him in. It was late in the game, just a 6-0 game, and he remembers this way that you called the timeout to question that substitution.
Oh, I don't remember that. I wouldn't admit to it if I did, I guess. Maybe. Robert remembers everything pretty good, and usually he's right. So I'm probably guilty of doing something like that. But I would have been careful if I had, because I respected and scared to death of Coach Daniel. I would have never done anything he didn't think I should do, I think. So.
I mean, that would be 2 times you crossed in there. That's hard to
think
about,
pushing
right?
it. Yeah.
Now, he also tells me that when I was talking with him, that he's never seen anybody, and it's you know, it's hard to pick up sitting here talking with you and enjoying these memories, but he said there's nobody he knows that's more competitive. You talked about, I asked you about competitions at home and competitiveness. He says that if you're about to play checkers against someone, he would picture you sitting down across and rolling your sleeves up, getting ready to play checkers. Is that something that wanes over time, or is that still right there, or what do you think?
I don't know if I am that. I felt like Robert is. I felt like everybody that I played with was competitive. If you played against Steve Phillips at anything, you or Mike Baker or David Sexton or Tony or Robert, any of you, they were going to try to win. It's just, I thought it was expected of you, you know. So if I am competitive, I think, again, it comes from the environment at Oneida and from Coach Williamson at a young age, and then Coach Daniel at a later age. It was almost, I wasn't going to let them down. I felt like I let the whole town down if we didn't win, or something. And so I never felt like this is what I want, or this is what it was always a we, us, team thing. And I think anybody will do more for others than they will for themselves. They'll quit on themselves far quicker than they will on other people, So it wasn't an option, And I loved Coach Daniel. He was great. Coach Daniel was single most of his life, and he kind of getting off the subject, but it kind of reminded you of my relationship with him. He got married, and he married this lady whose husband, she was a widow. Her husband had been killed in Vietnam, and she had 2 daughters, or 3 maybe. One daughter named Kendra. She's cute as she could be, and we all thought she was cute. So, and we used to have these like little dances after the basketball game, sock hops, and Kendra would say, ask Dad if you could walk me home. You could see his porch light from the gym, but I was scared. I said, I can't ask him that. She said, tell him you'd like to walk me home after the dance. And Kendra, I just can't do it. I'm afraid of him. And so she come in. She actually had her mother, who's the only person I ever saw Coach Daniel afraid of was Kendra's mother. But anyway, she said, "Listen, Mom's talked to him. He knows you're going to come and ask. This is the last dance, the last game," and said, "You've got to go in there and tell him you'd like to walk me home after the game." I'm literally, you could see the porch light from the gym. It wasn't like it's going to be a long walk, but anyway, I got up my nerve, and I remember going in. He was sitting watching film. That's when the old 60 minutes, and he had a tape. They used to buy tape in a tube. It'd come in a long tube, and he would chew tobacco and spit in that tape tube. And he was in there, and I said, now, I've been with him now for 4 years, and we'd won all these games, and I'd been his quarterback. And I mean, if he said jump, I'd jump, whatever he said. And I remember saying, "Coach, what is it?" And I said, I need to just ask you, so what do you want? And I said, "Coach, there's this dance tonight." And he said, "What do you want, Sparky? What is it?" He said, "I'm busy." I said, "I was wondering if it was okay if I walk Kendra home after the dance." He said, "Hell no, don't ask me again." I was out of there. But that's what I remember. Well, eventually, I think here he came and found me and said, "You can walk her home if you want to," or something. But anyway, it worked out. But I scared him.
Did you feel like you'd been set up?
Yeah. So, but it was, I never could have had a better experience playing for anybody than those guys.
Do you feel like your coaching was a meld of all of those that you experienced at that time?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've been asked a lot of times who's influenced your life the most, and my brother is a great influence. He better coach than me. He's won so many games and all. And then, I've had a chance to, I'm working for a Hall of Fame coach now, Mac Brown, and had worked for him for years before that. I worked for Pete Carroll and George Welsh, and I've been around some good ones. Bill Battle was a great football coach, but when somebody says who's had the most influence on you, I really have to go all the way back to Blackie and then Ben. Because they really made you what you are. And then, you might learn a little bit more how to run this type of offense or defense or something, but they're the ones that embedded into me team first, school, teammates, and that kind of stuff.
I have a couple more of these almost absolutes, but you choose how you want to answer these.
Okay.
But what would you say, I'm intrigued because I assisted middle school basketball for a short time for a gentleman,
Awesome.
just basically to try to help him work with the varsity while I kept the others busy. But I'm a teacher as well, which, as you said,
Awesome.
it equals that. But I think there's a lot of things that people who haven't coached, just because they haven't done it, can't understand. So a few questions on that, if I could. One is, in the years you've been a coach and seen coaching, what's something that has changed the most, and then what's something that just hasn't changed at all?
good question. I've been doing it now. This is, I guess, 40-something years for me and everything, so of these games. But I remember when we went from blocking where you couldn't use your hands to using your hands. And then because of that, used to, you on defense, you could shed the block and make the tackle. But since you can use your hands, it kind of legalized holding. So you might be able to shed the block, but the backs are so good they run before you can get them and stuff. So the changing of using your hands created the box count. Now you hear about it when you watch TV. They're filling the box. They're outnumbering you, so it's hard to run the ball or something. So that became, and then from there became, okay, if we're going to fill the box, we're going to have to pressure the quarterback, and then bump and run coverage probably outside. So all of that is kind of matriculated through football, I think. And then probably the biggest change that's happened other than the rules like that has been gloves. Is that right now with these gloves, every game you see great athletes who are great athletes, but they one-handed catch here or something. It's a big assist in catching the ball. So therefore, I think offensive football, his scoring's up, those things. I think gloves has helped people catch the ball so much more, and that's some things that I've seen in it. The thing that never changes is it's still 11, and it's still a team sport. It's the greatest team sport for me because it's hard to get two people to do the correct things. To try to get 11 to do it on the same play is really hard. I love football because you could take a seventh grader that had breast and they can play football. There's a place for them. You could be big and heavy and can't do anything else maybe, or you could be a little tiny guy that probably can't. There's a place in football for you, and so I think that's one of the things that I see is not changed. It's that if you want to play, you can play this sport, and it takes courage. You've got to be willing to run into people and stuff, which is not always the case for a lot of people. But it's I think it hasn't changed, and I think the best. It's not the best players that always win. It's the best team. It's the ones that play together the best and stuff. And we've got this quarterback here now that's amazing, this Drake May kid, and I just love him. He's just everything you want. He's humble. And he can throw the ball and see, and he's 6'5", and he's just a pro football player, future pro football player. But he still he's the best team guy we got. He knows everybody on our team. He knows the girls that give him the water. He's just a great person.
A leader. Yeah,
he's a great leader. And so it's why at 68, almost 69 years old, I love coming in here and be around guys like him.
This may be too hypothetical, but let me try to set this up, because you know so many coaches. Of coaches you've observed but don't know, because the correct answer of all coaches is Mac Brown right now. Okay, we're going to just say that. But is there, if you had a child or a friend said, "Who should my child play for?" Of coaches you don't actually personally know but you've observed, is there somebody that you look at and you really admire what they're doing?
Belichick, I think that he wins every year enough to where whenever he drafts, it's 28, 29, 30 or something before he gets to his pick, yet he still continues to win. And I don't even know him. I've met him twice, and when I was at Alabama, we went up and visited with him, and he came in there and taught football, loved taught football, but I knew his father actually pretty good, Steve Belichick. Steve was a Navy graduate and stuff, and actually had been around him some and gone to convention, and he was at the airport. I gave him a ride, you know, and so we talked. And then he would check on me like every year and stuff. But he's dead now, Steve is. But I think it's hard to argue with Coach Belichick what he's accomplished. He's kind of the Vince Lombardi of my lifetime, anyway.
So similar to the high school question, a best coaching memory, a worst coaching memory in your order, you choose.
I guess I have really been blessed. I've had lots of those, good and bad. You know, I think probably when I went to probably the best time in my life was the years I was at Appalachian State, because they had not done well. They had not finished as high as second. And when I went there, they were kind of laughing at us. They would, do y'all wear shoes up there? And is it Appalachian State or is it Appalachian State? And we kind of, timing worked out. We got it going and we won a lot of games. And Al, look what they've continued to do. Great people. And so I feel pretty proud of that. But single game, you know, I guess when I went to South Carolina, it was probably the worst timing to go there. Sure. I don't know if you would remember this, but they had a steroid scandal, and the coach had just died, and they actually hired me in March, so they had signed 25 kids, and out of that, maybe one or two played.
Sports Illustrated articles splashed everywhere.
Yeah, you remember that. Well, great. Anyway, so it was probably the worst time to go, but at 35 years old, how you turn down that opportunity? So I took it, knowing that it was probably going to be hard. But Clemson, on the other hand, was roaring. They were just coming off a national championship. In fact, the first college game I ever coached in as a head coach, I was at App State then, and we played the defending national champion, Clemson, in the first game, and they beat us pretty good. But anyway, we worked hard, and we had a good plan, and we went to Clemson and beat Clemson. And I thought we'd done something. We'd turned this thing around pretty good, and I remember that victory being probably the most satisfying win that I can remember being a part of. The worst one, probably for me, was when I was at South Carolina. We had beaten Tennessee in Columbia. It's the first time, which was a big win. It's the first time South Carolina had ever beaten them, I think. And I think they fired Coach Majors the week after that and all, and not that that was good, but anyway, we had a big win there. The next year, we came to Knoxville, and we were kind of lame, and they were roaring, and they beat us really bad. And I knew going home that would probably, we had a brand new athletic director, brand new press. I told my wife, I think this will probably, and our team really didn't perform like I would have wanted it to. We weren't competitive against Tennessee, and that was the saddest one that I'd been a part of. I had a lot of losses and a lot of wins, but that was the one that I remember feeling the worst about.
You mentioned it's kind of a bookend almost, because your first coaching job ended when Johnny Majors was hired.
That's right.
At Tennessee, correct?
That's right.
And then so.
Yeah, I remember he came to Tennessee, and Coach Battle, who gave me my first job, was fired. I loved Coach Battle. He was great. And I remember Coach Majors came in, and he actually had somebody else tell me that we went through spring practice, and I wanted to stay because I was a fan more than anything. And he said, the other guy came in and said, coaches thinks you ought to probably go. He's got somebody who wants to hire you. I was a graduate assistant or something. Well, so I went to Kansas with the defensive coordinator who I worked for there at Tennessee. He'd gone to Kansas, and he called me and said, hey, come out here. And I'd never been west of the Mississippi River, so I remember calling my mother and say, Mom, I've taken a job. And she said, well, that's good, son. And I said, I'm going to Kansas. And she said, well, that's great. Will you be home this weekend? And she really had no idea. I said, maybe Christmas, but I don't think this weekend anyway. So, but that was kind of a coincidence that happened. And you're right. It turned out later that we ended up, our game may have made the decision to fire coach and everything. So it's funny how life is. Right. You know, I remember when Coach Majors came here, a funny story. He just got there and he said, Coach, he didn't know who it was. Coach, go down and get a bus. We're all going to go down. It's snowing. It was the wintertime. We were recruiting. He just gotten hired. And I went and got a van, and we got all the coaches loaded up in it, and we went down and we climbed all the way to the top of Neyland Stadium. And he was going to buy new uniforms, and you know, I grew up in Oneida, and I played Johnny Majors when I was a kid, when he was a single wing tailback. So I didn't want to change anything about Tennessee. That's, you know, as my school at the time. And so, but I remember being up there around all the coaches, and they were saying, we had one guy down there that had on orange helmet, orange shirt, and orange pants. And I remember we all said, oh gosh, his number is 66. He said, I hope we don't pick that. Said, looks like a Halloween costume or something. And here, old stupid me was. I was participating in it too. I said, why would we change it? You know, that's the uniform. So anyway, Coach Majors is down there. He gets on. He said, how does this one look? We'd all just wave because you know how high it is in Neyland Stadium. So anyway, he said, I'm coming up there. So he came upstairs, and he walked in. I don't know why he looked past those other 15 coaches. He looked right at me and said, hey, you like 66? Well, I just been telling everybody I didn't like it. And I said, well, I don't like it much, Coach. He said, well, your ass don't matter anyway. He said, I said, you're right. Well, and, you know, not to be revengeful in any way, because I know Johnny now, and he's been good to me, and I like him fine and stuff. But I thought years later I did matter when they brought him in there and did to him what happened to us all eventually in this coaching business. So
you're leading me to my next question.
Okay.
Because again, I barely coached, right? Just a few years at a small level, but I watch coaches that are friends of mine and the impact that people just don't see. In family, and you mentioned your wife, and I don't want to get too personal. You do whatever you feel comfortable with the question, but what's the hardest part about a family relationship while coaching?
Well, I think that it's harder on the families than it is on you, because you could go do something about it. If you get beat and they fuss at you or say things, but they can't. You know, they just got to sit there and listen to it. Right. And such. I remember when we were in South Carolina, my wife's pretty tough, and she knows if we're doing right, if we're doing wrong, and whatever happens, happens. But she's a really good coach's wife. We moved a bunch of times, and she takes those children and finds that church and finds that school and gets them going and all that. But my son became a coach, so I mean she's all about helping kids and stuff. But I remember they were getting mad at us at South Carolina, and somebody had bought one of those planes that flew a fire sparky over the stadium and all that a couple of times and everything. But and then a funny story. I got up one morning and we had lost. It was the last game. We lost to Clemson or something, and it had on the front page. Actually, it was really funny, but it had a homeless person stand in front of Williams-Brice Stadium. It was a cartoon. It said, "I'll coach for food," and for some reason that hurt her feelings. She was crying and all upset about that and everything. But I think that, and I can remember we were at Virginia. We had. First game we played Auburn, and we lost at the end of the game. Takeo Spikes intercepted one of our passes and ran that thing in the end zone and beat us. But we were riding home, and my daughter was like in the first grade, and my daughter's awesome. And I looked over and she's crying, and I thought, honey, we got to do recruit or something like that. And she said, I don't want to move again. So she thought, I said, I realized then that when you're coach's family, you understand the importance of winning and losing a lot and everything. So, but she's great, and I can remember that. It's harder on them than it is on people doing the coaching. Is
it hard watching your son? Is the offensive coordinator at Southern Methodist? Yeah,
they got me last night. You know, funny you ask, because I felt so bad. They really had a good plan, and they ended up getting beat in the second half. And I'm thinking, dog, I've been doing this stuff for 40-something years, and I got to worry about his, you know. And of course I do. He's got 4 children and another one on the way. And I said, listen, they're all girls but one. I said, you got to send them kids to school. But yeah, I feel bad for him, but I'm proud of him. You know, gosh, it's really, he's done so much. He's a lot better coach than I was when I was his age and stuff. And he, you know, too, there was a time in my life where I could have really helped him a lot. Right now, not so much, because I'm kind of in my latter years. I'm not a head coach now and stuff. So he's kind of learned this all on his own, you know. So, yeah, those are the good memories. I'm proud of him for it, but I suffered last night because I hated they lost, and I'm thinking, what am I doing worried about them now? So,
and some people say that things are, I don't know if the word worse is right, but more intense with grandchildren. How are your grandchildren, and how's that go?
I tell you what, I like grandchildren. Now, I'm a good grandfather because I just let them do anything you want to. You know, my son says, Dad, listen, they ain't going to remember me saying no. They're going to remember me saying yes, anything they ask. So he's got beautiful little children, and he's got a great wife, too. And so we're fortunate about that. But, yeah, I never thought I'd be one of those, but I'm a big-time grandfather. I like that.
So it's his job to do the discipline for them.
Yeah.
You've done your job on that.
Well,
him, and he's to pass that on. That's not your job.
That's right. You're good advice. I hear you.
So one more of these questions that just came to my mind, and you do with it what you will, but for someone who has never coached, is there anything that you feel like you just can't get across to that person that hasn't coached, that they just can't understand about a coach?
Well, you know, trust me, I've really been blessed in my life, and look what I'm doing now. You know, I've kind of got a retirement job really here, and it's Mac's great to me, and I get to be around these kids all the time. We get on the plane tomorrow to fly to play Miami and down there, and it'll be fun. Watch these kids do good and stuff, and he lets me be a part. He lets me help. I got some responsibility that's pretty good, but I think that the one thing that's kind of hard for people, like when people want to come and visit us, they want to come like during football season. I'm glad for them too, because that's good, you know. But it should be fun and stuff. But really, it's the first time to come for me, you know, because you spend your whole year, you got 12 opportunities or something to go out there and put it out there. I'd rather come in the summertime when we could go watch, do something else. But I think that I have to remind myself that to them, they have a job doing whatever they're doing, doctor, lawyer, merchant, thief, or something, and they go to the ball game to have fun, relax, and have fun. And for us, it's such a you know, that you either win or lose, you're going to move in this business probably, you know. So, and that's not really fair a lot of times to your kids and your wife and stuff. So, trying to keep it fun is not an easy thing to do. You got to try to keep it fun, and about the only way I realize you can have fun, and maybe I learned this in Oneida too, is win. When you win, it's fun. Yeah. When you lose, it's not. You know, so that's the biggest thing I think.
Just to kind of wrap back around, Coach. Of course, we follow Oneida every week. We've been able to do that for years and enjoyed that. And I just I know, can't imagine, as you mentioned, during football season, the busiest time of the year. Have you been able to stay in touch with what the Oneida football team does through this time? And if so, how do you do that? Who's your informant? What's your source? What do you do?
You know, Facebook now, and you got some sources like social media, and you can find out about it, you know, and stuff. But so I try to do that just to keep up with it. What's happened to me a little bit is, and this is not, you know, my whole life I grew up in Oneida, so nothing takes the place of that. But moving around, so maybe we've acquired so many friends. And, you know, I have a son coaching, so I've got so many of coaching friends of mine that are coaching at this school or that school. So I spend my whole day trying to figure out where all my friends, where they won or lost and everything too. But so yeah, and then I try my best. I got to know Coach Lambert pretty good. He and my brother were really good friends, and I went to school with Tony, his uncle, and everything. But so I was a little closer then, and Robert was coaching there then. Robert would keep me up to date on who's doing what and kids, and I hear from some, not as much because I've been gone so long and everything, and most of my family now is kind of passed. So sometimes I get to Morristown and don't ever get on over to Oneida because my sister lives there and stuff. But yeah, I'm really interested in it, and I'd do anything I could to try to. They had like a 100-year deal and asked me to come back and speak, and that was probably the most honored I'd ever been. This is a real honor for you to come and take your day, drive all the way over here and do this, and so it's a real honor for me about that. I do love Oneida, and I do love the people of Oneida, and I think that it's got an unbelievable history, you know, largest county in the state and probably the smallest population-wise, and just tough people, you know, good people, but tough people. And I can remember growing up those mining accidents and children's dads and those, you know, so I really do have it, although I don't have the relationship, keep up with them like I used to have, because I don't have some nephew playing or cousin playing there or something like that. And it's spread out a little bit. So I do keep up with them. I know that they have good years. I'm sad when I see that they maybe didn't win, but I'm always happy when there's always a lot more of those than there are the other. Proud of what they continue to do. I'm proud of the pride that they have. And that school is great, and the town, and that old football field is super. And I think that I'm always interested in what they do. I wouldn't say I get up first thing Saturday morning to see what their score was, but I usually get to it. And my brother, he keeps up with it as well, and we talk once a week. So what'd you hear about Oneida? Well, Coach Lambert said this, or now Coach May, this is happening. And dear friend I have is Robert Wright there, and so he's been great to keep up with, and especially interested when he was, because I know what he's doing. He's making little people better, big people, you know.
Let me get 3 of your choice and 3 of my choice that I want to, and I want to start with you. 3 non-football people from Oneida that you just want to throw out there and mention. And I, as you're thinking about that, if you want this to be one of your choices, that's fine. But I watched an interview that had been taped with you not too long ago, and you mentioned working for some extra money at George Roark's station.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that wasn't recruiting money to keep you at Oneida or anything like that. No, but you know, just there's 3 people that maybe you could just mention that weren't football related necessarily, but that bring Oneida to mind to you.
You know, there is so many. It's going to be impossible for me not to forget, you know, somebody that's really made an impact on my life, I'm sure. I go back to where we would practice ball, and then I would walk down from the school down to the corner where 27 bends down there where the service station used to be, and I would hitchhike home. And there was this guy, I don't even know his last name, but his first name was Casey, and he would pick me up almost every day and take me home, and I named my son Casey, only because I remember this guy would time it up so he could give me a ride home. George Roark, you mentioned, you know, me and anybody else that wanted to could work for him. You could wash cars or something, and he would bark at you while you were doing it, but he always paid you, and he was make sure you what else you need. You know, he was just a do-gooder in that town for everybody. And so you remember people like Joe Cross, who's such a dear, loyal friend. Mike Baker comes to my mind. Mike will call me to tell me that Chuck is sick, and he would, just keeps me up to date on what's going. Love him very much, Of course, keeping up with Steve's wife, Jane, and Heath, her son and daughter, Lee Ellen, and all. But, I think those are names that come to my mind right now. Most of the ones that had the greatest influence on me have passed and all. So their families or something. I remember, Bill Dunlap, who's actually a first cousin of mine, but I could call Bill anytime and he would, whatever he could do, I love him a lot. And he lost his brother, now he lost his mother, so we're all at that age. But that's the way life is. But there's just so many people I admire. Brother Kazee, who was the pastor there for so many years, and his daughter, who was probably one of the best basketball players ever played at Carson Newman, much less Oneida, just
the softball field's named after.
How about that? Should be. There's so many fantastic people. You and I were talking about Eamon Lay, and we were talking about Mr. West, and just people who, they loved me when they had no reason to, so great people.
So three I want to mention up to you, and then I want to start with you were just peripheral to Oneida by this time, but Coach Jim May came along in the early '80s, provided a state championship run for the Indians, and a couple of other semifinal appearances. Just got right there, and his son Jimmy now coach. Talk a little bit about the May family.
Well, I got to know Jimmy Sr. A little bit, and it opened arms. Come in, Coach. Anything I can do, and you mean so much to this town, and so here's a guy that came in. I relate him a lot to Coach Blackie Williamson. Blackie was from Lenore City, I think, and just came up there. I took a coaching job, and then just became principal of the elementary school community. Just made it all better. I see Coach May is the same way, just came in, and now he's beloved by so many people there. Most of his stories that I've heard either from Robert or people like that. But certainly look what he accomplished there. Now his son following in his footsteps. So, as an alumnus of Oneida, I couldn't be more proud of our coach right now. Who he is. I know what he's doing is right. I loved Coach Lambert before him, and such. And Robert. So I'm probably not there to know enough about the bad, because I choose to see it. There's not much, in my opinion. I see all the good that comes from there. I think people that ask me where I'm from, I'm always proud to say I'm on Tennessee because of people like Coach May and his son. Look at following his footsteps. And I know that if I had a child there, I'd say, get out there and see if you can tackle somebody or something. Go do whatever he asks you to do.
We lost two good gentlemen. A good friend of mine, Jared Henry, and his brother Keith. And I hear you talk about your brother Don, and Jared was that way with his brother Keith. And they, of course, successful at Oneida, became successful coaches at Coalfield, took that team right up to the edge. Can you share just a word about because they were in proximity to you? They
lived across the street, and their dad, Dolphus Henry, was a veteran out of the Navy, wonderful guy, just do anything in the world he could for you. Grew up really poor in Robbins, just made something of himself. Their mother, Brenda, ran a beauty shop right there and fixed probably everybody's hair in town. And they're just wonderful people, and the two boys. They were like junior high when I was in high school, so they're really more in line age-wise with my sister. But gosh, it was their last name might as well have been Woods or mine been Henry. They were like family, So admired them so much, and what they did at Coalfield I'm sure they did at Oneida before, but what they did at Cofield was the same thing was going on at Oneida. They restored that little community with such great pride, and they tough and win, and those people there would just do anything for them. And it was always, I can never think of, man, I'd go recruiting, I'd go by there where he had a player or not, so I could just see him, you know, and stuff, because they were just all about what's right, and they were all about what's good, and they cared for people and loved people. And what a tragedy with this COVID year. It couldn't have hit any family harder than it did them, you know. So I just, they were great to me. I lived across the street. My sister slept over there about as much as she did at our house, you know, and they just wonderful people that, you know, never knew anything about them before they moved there, and then would, here's my house, go check on anything you want, you know, just kind of trust them with anything.
And Coach, lastly, he's weaved in and out of many of your stories, but anything left about Robert Wright and Mr. Oneida, really, in a lot of ways?
Isn't he? You know, his dad, who was a fantastic man, has to be so proud of Robert. I am. You know, Robert, anything I accomplished, Robert topped just about. But the best thing he did, look at his family, look at his wife, look at his son, what a good coach his son is, his daughter, and they're just awesome family. And he's, I don't have a better friend than Robert. There's not anybody that I respect, admire more. His heart is right, and he's about, if you can get around him, you'll be a better person, whatever you're doing. If you spend time with him, and he's always big everybody else, little him. He never brings attention to himself, yet we could never know what an impact he's had on people, especially in that community, I think.
Also, if you spend time with him, as I experienced a few weeks ago, be ready for a lot of interruptions from students past that come up, and when they come up, he stops and he's there for them, not out of disrespect for you, but out of respect and love.
He knows they're one of them. Yeah, I guarantee you. Yeah, who don't like Robert Wright? Anybody that knows him. Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It's been an honor. It's been really honored me if y'all travel this way, and I'm so proud that we still got people like yourself in Oneida that's working and bringing it. It's good for that community, and it's been an honor. It's a great thing about athletics is it brings people together that you might not ever meet or know, and it's one of the great things about it. And this is really, truthfully, I'm embarrassed about how honored I am, about how y'all been and people will not have been to us and stuff. So I appreciate what's going on. I'm pulling hard for the Indians. I hope we continue to win as we always do. And I'm just really proud to say I'm just one of those that was in there, because there's thousands that's done wonderful things.
Now.